Hi everyone, it's Chelsea from Little Mountain Ranch, and today is part 2 of my pantry clean. So this pantry here, this is my secondary pantry, and I keep most of my dried goods in here. And then over on this side, behind this door, is the pantry that I cleaned the other day, and I showed you that. I'll link that video up here if you haven't seen it already. And in that pantry, I store primarily my canned goods, my squash, and my potatoes. This is actually a cold room, so it's an insulated room with a vent to outside in order so that I can control the temperature and keep it cool in there. Out here, I'm actually right beside, you can see here, this is our indoor wood furnace. So I don't keep anything in this outside pantry that's going to be overly affected by the heat. Actually, surprisingly, even being right next to the furnace, this little area back here, I think just because it's surrounded by concrete and it's like an exterior wall, it stays relatively cool anyway. I wanted to apologize for the lighting down here. I have some lamps set up so that at least we have light. I'm down in the basement and there's not a lot of natural light down here, so we're stuck with the lamp lighting. I'm really excited because, as you can see back here, I just have these plastic shelves that I bought years and years ago. The other day, my mom was taking some stuff to the dump and she noticed at the share shed. So in our area of British Columbia, we have something called share sheds outside of our dumps, and that's where people can put things that aren't garbage, but that they don't want to have to worry about selling or dealing with. So they just put them there, and that way anybody can come and take them. So it's kind of like a free store. Anyways, she found these really great plywood shelves and she actually gave me one, which is amazing. So I'll show you that now. The reason it's laying on the floor was because it was hard to bring in from outside upright because it's such a tall shelf. So the reason that I'm so excited about this shelf is because I really needed more shelving in here. As you'll be able to see in a minute, the stuff is just everywhere, and I'm storing all of my larger kitchen appliances down here as well. They're all over the floor. There's not enough room on the shelves. But one of my goals for 2019 is to actually not spend money pretty much outside of what we absolutely need to have. I just don't want to be spending money on things. I have shelving in here. I don't actually need shelving. I just want shelving, and sorry about all the banging and stuff going on upstairs, but all the kids are upstairs right now making all kinds of noise. So that's what's happening in the background. It's not a herd of elephants as much as it sounds like that. What our family is trying to do in 2019 is to just stop spending money outside of our actual needs. And this has been a bit of a challenge, even trying to determine what our actual needs are. But shelving in this was not a need. This is just something that is going to make my material life a little bit easier to have shelving in here, but it's not something I need. So to be able to find shelving like this for free was fantastic. So I'm really, really grateful to have this shelving. So the plan today is I'm going to actually empty out this room, give it a really good scrub down, and put the shelf in, and then to put everything back into this pantry. This pantry is actually quite depleted right now, and I'll be doing another large bulk food order, probably I'd say in the next 2 weeks. So I will make sure that I film that video for you so that you can see everything that's going to go in here. And then what I'll probably do too is show you some of my tricks for actually storing those things when they come in. I think this project's going to take me a little bit longer than I originally anticipated, so I might have to enlist some assistance. Unfortunately, I have many of those. This is kale. I grow a lot of kale, and we use kale over the winter time in soups, stews, smoothies, wherever I can get it in. None of the kids really like eating kale raw, so this is a really good way to get it in. The reason that this is kind of yellowed, because I was late in getting it off. Normally I'll dry it outside on a warm day and it dries really, really quickly, stays green, and then I can put it through my food processor, grind it up, and it's good to go and looks really green. This stuff I ended up having to dry in my basement because I took it out of the garden when the warm weather was already over, so it yellowed out a little bit, but it still has lots of good nutrients in it, so I decided just to keep it, and I've just been throwing it in soup and stew and that kind of thing. point I have most everything out of here is I'm just gonna give the floor a really good wash with some disinfectant because I did find a couple of rotten onions. The reason I store my onions out here and not in my cold room, when you're storing onions, you want to store them separate from your potatoes, and in my opinion, really separate from anything where they could impart an off flavor to, because onions are fairly strong smelling vegetables. So I store them in here, which seems to be working okay. I did find a couple of rotten ones, but that's kind of to be expected at this point, 5 months into the food storage season. Okay, so I'm gonna give this floor a really good wash, and then I'm gonna move these black shelves over to this side, and then I'm gonna put the new shelf up over on the side over here. And then give everything a good scrub before I start putting it back in again, because there's a lot of dust. One of the disadvantages of having your wood furnace inside rather than an outside wood boiler furnace is the fact that you do end up with the dust and the mess. The one advantage of having this in the house compared to outside is that if you do have a power outage, you still have heat, which is really important. I'm a huge advocate of an indoor wood furnace. I'll do a separate video on wood furnaces just to give you kind of my opinions and my experiences with them, because I have had many different kinds of wood heat over the years. This is by far my favorite so far. Now to wash the floor. It's a good feeling that something so simple could bring me so much joy, but this old ratty wooden shelf does just that. So what I'm gonna do now is just give it a good scrub and then start putting things on here. And the other thing I decided to do is to actually go into my cold room and pull out anything. I have lots of spices and things like that in there that are just dried goods, and put them in this part of the pantry. Now, it would have probably made more sense as far as space to put the shelf at the end, but there's one tiny little window up there, and it's the only window in this entire space, and I just didn't want to block it. So it's gonna go here. I'll give that a scrub, and then I'll start putting stuff away, and as soon as I'm finished that, I'll take you around and show you some of the things that I have stored in this area, and talk to you a little bit about how I store those goods, and also where I get them from, and then give you some suggestions on places that you could get bulk goods like this, if you're interested. As far as the bulk items that I have, like this giant jug of vanilla, my teas and my flowers and all that kind of stuff, I order that stuff primarily from a place called Horizon Distributors. I'll put a link in the description box for that company. It is a Canadian company, but I also know that Azure Standard also does organic down in the States, and I'm not sure about other places in the world. If you do know a place that you can order organic bulk goods from, just let us know down in the comment section, just to help everybody else out in the community. As far as storing, I'm sitting on the ground, this looks kind of weird, but oh well, I don't want to drag my chair in here. As far as storing all of my bulk stuff, you can see like there's flour, this one has brown sugar, or no, this one has gluten-free flour, there's brown sugar, white sugar, and lots of beans. I keep those in Tupperware containers like this. I don't do anything fancy as far as worrying about oxygen or anything like that, degrading them, because we go through things so quickly around here. A bin of beans like this might last 6 months, and it doesn't need any special care in order to not go stale in that period of time. I do, like I mentioned in one of my previous videos, I do want to develop a long-term storage pantry that we just don't touch, that has things in it that are truly for just in the case of an emergency. But the way my pantries work are kind of like a store, so stuff is constantly turning over in here, so I'm not that worried about things going bad. So the way that I've arranged this is I've put everything that is kind of like overflow from the kitchen, all of my larger appliances, my juicer, my pressure canner, my big casserole containers, my Instant Pot and all that kind of stuff is on this side, and then I have my food over here on this shelf, and then my big bins towards the back. And then in order to kind of block this space off, I'll show you that something that I came up with that works really well for just creating like a separate room here. Okay, so all I did was I took a curtain rod, like a shower curtain rod here, and then my mother-in-law had a couple of extra curtain panels, and I was happy because she had some light colored ones, because like I said, this is the only window down in this space and I really didn't want to block out the light, and the light shines through these curtains really well. So then now all I have to do is close them up, and then that space is blocked off from the rest of the main space. So if it does start getting untidy, which is pretty much a guarantee, that must doesn't spill over into the rest of the basement area. So I'm just going to give you an overview of my pantry setup now. So this is my cold room, and it's regulated via insulation and a vent in the roof up here that just vents to outside that I can adjust so I can keep it cool, and it's also dark. It does have a little window in here, but I have that blocked off with tin foil. If you keep your canned goods in a space that is dark, then they degrade more slowly. And on this side, this is my dry goods storage. So I'll show you just kind of a quick view of some of the things that I have stored in here, and there's still lots of space left for when my big food order comes in. These are dried goods, beans, rice, flour, that kind of thing in these bins here, and then toilet paper and paper towel, that kind of stuff up here, and then all of my larger appliances on this side. I hope that you enjoyed this video, everyone, and if you did, please leave it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't subscribed to my channel already. I would love to have you here as part of this wonderful community. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you again in a few days. Bye.